Listen up, folks. Before we get started, we just want to let you know that the Dumb Dad podcast, as always, is presented by Bet Online.
Bet Online is the number one source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, NBA playoffs, and NHL playoffs.
Here's the thing. As a parent, you want a little help. You want a little leg up in life. Even with your hobbies, it's nice to have someone who's got your back.
That's
Get
right.
all the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams.
Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there.
What's your sport right now?
My sport right now is golf. Well, in the Premier League. I love the Premier League, but next week is the last match of the season. So it's going to be switching into golf. Probably a lot of baseball this summer. It'd be fun to watch because our kids are playing it. And let me tell you, when I'm betting on sports stuff, betting on player props is like the most fun thing to do. When it's like when I'm in Vegas and I'm with my buddies and I'm betting on like an NFL game, and it's like I need Josh Allen to run for more than 47 yards this whole game, and it's the most fun thing to cheer on if somebody like that takes off running.
Just for a small thing.
Yeah.
100%.
It's the funniest thing to be cheering on. Like, just keep running. Don't kneel. Don't slide.
Well, you don't need to go to Vegas.
That's
you
right.
just need Bet Online.
That's right.
So head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action.
Bet Online, where the game starts.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to the Dumb Dad podcast. My name is Kevin, and I'm a dumb dad.
Hey there, my name's Evan, and I'm a dumb dad. And on today's episode, Kevin will teach us how to bring down a old woman in the grocery aisle and flee for security.
I don't like how you phrase that. In this episode, we're going to learn how Evan is driving Miss Dummy.
Oh, nice.
Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Oh, well, we're here. We're alive. We're happy. Everything's great. Here's what I want to talk about. Here's something I just thought about recently.
Okay.
It's because I've had an experience.
Okay.
And it's funny to think about strangers.
Oh.
Yeah. Not stranger danger, but like...
Just like people you don't know.
It's the potential of stranger danger. It's all... The internet has done a lot of bad things for strangers. Because just think about it. When we were kids, I've been writing a parenting through time about this.
Sure.
About how, and everybody talks about it. When you're leaving your house as a kid, you come back when dinner's ready. Because your parents didn't know any better. Yeah. They saw a horrifying news story, but it was like, yeah, but that was like Arkansas.
Yeah, my parents watched Unsolved Mysteries.
Unsolved Mysteries. It's always in some unsuspecting town, and nobody thinks anything of it. And then the internet comes out, and just everyone is just apparently a monster.
Oh, yeah.
And they prove themselves on the internet pretty regularly. They go out of their way to show you. But it's funny how it's affected me, and I just think about like that whole "it takes a village" concept that we've all... That's the saying.
Sure.
It takes a village, which I didn't quite understand until I had kids. I really didn't. I didn't understand.
You knew the saying.
I assumed like, yeah, someone's got to sell wheels and someone's selling shares. I guess it takes a village. I don't know. Who's delivering the milk? That's what I assume. It takes a village.
You're not delivering any milk unless you buy a set of wheels.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you going to walk?
You know, it's like a domino effect. It has to happen. Something has to start, and then it goes from there.
Yeah. There's a story about like how money... There's that story about how money doesn't matter because somebody owes money. It's just look it up. It's a boring story. You heard the story? Here. The story about like everybody like owed somebody in the town $50 or whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody came in, stayed at a hotel, and bought a hotel for $50, and then that $50 he paid off the auto mechanic, who then paid off the... It's how money doesn't make sense. Yeah. So anyway,
we're all just trading it back and forth.
Don't make sense to me, and it's funny because I still like I'm wary of it. I get it, but also it takes a village thing is also I'm very aware of. I remember there was a time when my daughter was very little, and we got out of the car. I think I picked my wife up from work, and my daughter was probably like 6 months old or something. And we went to a sub shop, and my wife took the baby out of the car, and just some really nice old lady just like walked up to my wife. I was like, "Oh, so beautiful. Give me." And we were like, "Get out of here."
Yeah.
She's probably a nice lady.
Who just wanted to hold a baby.
Who just wanted to hold a baby. She probably hadn't held a baby in a long time.
Yeah.
But I was like, I will punt you into a car. Like, the internet, I'm sorry, it's not your fault, but
Yeah.
we can't unsee and unread what we've read.
I know. It's funny, like, when your parents, like, when we were kids, it was like, don't talk to strangers. Do not talk to them, or if somebody, the biggest one was like, what would you say if some guy offered you candy if he said, come into my van, I'll give you a bunch of candy. What would you say? It was like weird stuff like that they'd, position it to want to know your answer. Yeah, don't ever say it.
Do you do that to your kids? We do that.
Well, it depends on how much candy, but
that's the answer.
Yeah.
He's got full-size bars?
We do say things like that. What if a stranger came up and said, like, well, I know your mom and dad, just that kind of stuff, right? When we were kids, it was like we had a family code that my dad said, like, we know the family code. You don't ever say the family code to anybody. Mm-hmm. And that way, if somebody says, I'm here to pick you up from school today, your dad can't make it, you would say, what's our family code? And if they don't know it, then you do not get in the car. Stuff like that, which that's important.
What's your family code?
How stupid do you think I am, Kevin?
That's a long one.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm included.
We were always like, who's Kevin? He's like, doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure.
It's a name. I picked a name.
Sure.
Which is what was so wild about meeting you.
Yeah.
But it was just like, of course those things are important to teach your kids. Like that here's the scary or the hard thing about this, and I totally agree with this, which is like, it's kind of a way around, like, you want to be honest with your children, but it's like, I also don't want to be like, there's people out there that could take you and do things to you, and we don't know who they are. And that's a scary thought. Like, do what? Like, I don't want to explain it. I don't know.
Is that as far as you've told them, or you haven't even done that?
I haven't even done that because I say, like, that's like the clever way of going, like, we just don't, get into a car or follow somebody or trust somebody that you don't know. Because you don't want to scare them so much to where they're afraid of everything in the whole world. I think you know what I'm saying. On the other side of the coin, there's like this like little chip on my shoulder growing up, thinking like everybody could potentially be scary, which is a kind of a not.
You
fair
had that as a child?
Yeah. And as an adult too, it's like, I don't know this person approaching me. Why are they approaching me this way? Or I thought they were approaching me. They were just walking by me. It's like always having like your guard up, as opposed to being a friendly person. And which I still try to be. And the reason I bring that up is like something I have always done since I was like in my 20s. I hold the door open for anybody, like restaurant, post office.
That's interesting. I started when I was a teenager.
At the Y, whatever.
20s. Interesting.
Well, then you're a better person than me, and I'll get you a cookie because of it. I'll bring it to you next time.
Agreed.
But it's like that's something I have like always just tried to do, and I know it's just like there's more things to do. That's one of the things that I do.
So you just kind of coasted
through
woman, your 20s
young,
with the door
old,
thing. It's like, I'm a good person.
Yeah. No. What I'm saying is like, but to me, that is like, but if I have decided to do that as a small gesture to whoever's, like I said, young, old, kids, women, men, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I'll hold the door open if you're 8 feet away and I'm standing there like, hey, come on in. Like, that's like a small gesture in humanity to just show other people like, hey, I'm looking out for you for a second here. It's cool.
Sure, yeah.
Now that person could be a
yeah.
I don't know. But it also could So could I.
Maybe you open the door and smell the fart and you're like, you first. I want in your lungs.
Let me open the door because I'm going to follow you because I'm a monster. Like, but the point is like, I'd rather take that side of life of just trying to be a little bit more open and on and cordial with each other as you walk. Walk down the street, somebody passed you, give them a smile. How you doing? Like something. Not ignore the person. Don't look at them. They could be dangerous. I don't know. So it's a weird like space to navigate in. I know, and I'm not trying to like paint only two extremes, but when we have these conversations of like stranger danger and people are dangerous and like it also feels like a very unfair and too broad of a brush to paint other people with, like unless you definitely know them, which by the way, with your kids, you're the only ones that can validate people for them. You know what I mean? Like, hey, unless we say they're safe, they're not. It's also like a wild thing to think about. Well,
that's what parenthood is, though. That's kind of your job.
Sure.
So you just got to let them know you can't trust anybody. I mean, we had a guy trying to sell us Jell-O for 30 years. Absolute monster. Okay? So, yeah, we can't trust anybody. Evan,
what an example.
What a great example is what you mean. Well, what triggered it was
Still would draft him. The character. the character in the show,
I don't know why
not the
you're
person.
doing that.
Well, just because it just felt like such a sketchy thing to put it in the dad draft. But ultimately, I believed in the pick.
It's just interesting you couldn't find anyone else.
I could. It's just that dad was that good of it. That's why it was so scary. Maybe that I'm going to lean towards you now. That person could be that other person.
Yeah. And anyway, we're referring to our dad draft video. If you haven't seen it, because you're lost.
Go look it up. No, they've seen it. Everyone loved it.
What triggered it was like, I had my kids at the store, and just this nice lady was just like, my kids were like being really sweet to each other, which they always are. They never fight. They're good kids. It was at the store. They were listening, which they always do.
I don't understand what's happening.
Anytime
right
I see a kid running down the aisle, I was like, oh, what's that parent doing? Not parenting, I guess. I don't know. It just comes easy to me, I guess. Some people have it. Anyway, my kids were being great in this moment, as usual. This was not an anomaly. And this woman was just like, oh my God, they're so cute. And I was like, thank you. And she was like, how old? And like, she's just making conversation. And I wanted to be like, why? Do you have a couple like slots in your dossier you got to fill? Like, keep it walking, lady. We're done here. Like, I was nice to her, and then she just pushed it. What do you want? The social next? Huh? I just give you.
You think asking how old they are was pushing it?
Here's a locket of hair. No, I don't think it was too much. I don't think it was too much. I don't. I definitely told her.
Can I just smell the top of their heads? No.
No, I told her how old. I told her how old, but I'm not denying that. Like, that's when like my lizard brain went activated. Sure. Is my point.
Yeah, that's when the flag went
I
up.
was like, 7 and 5, but like my brain was like, get ready to strike her.
That
nose, ears, throat, children run. Nose, ear, throat, children run. Which they would listen because my kids always listen.
Yeah. They're looking for you and her, thinking like, pay attention now. It could be any moment. We might need to go for the shins if she doesn't go down easily. Is what they were thinking because they're on your team as well.
So the shins, you swipe around the leg and then you put your forearm in the back of their knee and apply pressure. You just need like 8 pounds of pressure to kind of pop a knee out of its socket.
You push the right button on the chin or something. Anybody can go to sleep.
Yeah.
Wow. I hear what you're saying. Like that. It's funny that.
It's just funny that
it's sad that like this like completely. Let's lean on the side of trust. This completely innocent woman who is making conversation with you about how your beautiful children, how old are they? Oh yeah, I remember when my children are away. And like, but that the moment that the flag went up was like, how old are they? As if she couldn't guess, or that it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like she could have gone a lot further into the conversation with an awkward question for a flag to go up, but it goes up that early for you.
Yeah, it goes up that early for me at all times.
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think
I didn't say there was.
What I think sucks about that is like that's when it is. It's almost like if the society continues down the path that she's continuing down and influenced by the internet, all these things, it's like somebody looking at you is like red flag. Why are you looking at me? Is like where it feels like we're closer to that is what you're saying than like, hey, everyone's cool. And now again, I'm not advocating to trust everyone undoubtedly until they prove you wrong.
Kind of sounds like what you're saying.
It is what I'm saying. But you know what I mean? Like that. It's just disappointing that feels like where we are as a society sometimes. That a flag goes up because someone was like, "Oh, cute kids, how old?" Like you couldn't automatically trust like they're probably a mom and want to know.
And I give her a slight benefit of the doubt. I'm saying that's just when the lizard brain comes up, and she made it to sentence 2, and I'm not ashamed to say, at all. She made it 2 sentences longer than any man would have.
Yeah.
Any male looks the direction of my children. I'm like,
sure.
My parents are in town. They can take care of the kids while I'm in jail. Like that's just like what happens.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bummer to have to, because that's like pressure on you. That's stress on you. That's where your brain goes. That's where society has placed the warning sign of like any man could be a dangerous person.
Society's done it to itself.
Well, you're not wrong there.
That's the problem with the internet. It's not like well, the moon landing was fake. It's like, no, here's a million articles and unsolved mysteries. That's right. I'm bringing it back.
Yeah, and opening up like, does a sexual predator live near you map, and then all the red dots that are there. That's like, all that kind of stuff. You're not wrong. That's I guess what I'm saying is, like, when you think about the idealism of everyone getting along together, I just don't understand people making horrible decisions in life that puts others at risk and danger. I just don't understand that. My wife was literally telling me today, you're to a fault sometimes, you're too much of a people pleaser. I'm such a people pleaser that I just don't want to assume.
You were like, go ahead, kids, take a ride around the block in that white van. It's probably fun.
Yeah, she'll be right back. He's got a bunch of ice cream in there. To a fault sometimes, that I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't like upsetting people. I don't like, having anybody's feelings hurt. And so, not to a fault of that, I'm going to make a decision like that. But it makes me sad to think that, like, people are out there hurting other people intentionally. I know that's the most innocent, weird, childlike response, but that's truly how I feel. It's truly how I feel.
That's like the that's not even like the bars on the floor. That's like, I see a bar on the floor.
Yeah. I just don't get it. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I never will. And we try to do our part by holding the door open. Hold the door open for me. See how that makes you feel.
Hold the door open, guys, so the predators can get in faster. That Evan Kyle Berger, May 14th, 2024.
You just try to be honest, man. I was trying to be honest with you about how I feel about the world and how incredibly disappointing it is. Sometimes I literally will be like walking home from baseball with my son, and I'm thinking about similar things, like strangers. A couple people pass us up. I'm definitely looking at their behavior as they're walking towards us. I'm eyeing their behavior, like how they're walking, how many times they're looking at us. But I also choose, if they look at us, to give them a smile. Like, so there's two things going on there. And
yeah, because wolves show their teeth. That's right, Evan.
That's right.
I got your back on this one.
Yeah, lips pursed when you.
How long have you lived? You've lived in your house now? What, 3 months? Whatever.
No, closer to like 4.5. Something. Okay. It doesn't matter.
The only reason I bring it up: have you noticed how many? Have you noticed how many white vans are in your neighborhood? Because since I've moved in, it's pretty wild. And I know that's a stereotype.
It has to be a white van.
Yeah, the white beat-up van.
I don't really care about the color of the van. I care about whether the van has windows or not.
Yeah, the white ones don't usually have vans.
Mm-hmm. Windows.
The white ones usually don't have windows.
They got to buy wheels on them. Put them on there first.
It takes a village to make
a van,
a kidnap car. Anyway, that's where I'm at. It's wild. It's unfixable. Pandora's box has been opened. It's called the internet.
Yeah.
And we have seen too many monsters.
I'm going to give you an example that will defend your side of this as well, and to show you that I don't think you're a crazy person.
I didn't think I needed it, but okay.
My buddy and I were like sophomores in high school, and we went to go play golf. We were on the golf team. Uh-huh. Yeah, that is right. You heard that. That is how badass I was in high school. We were on the golf team. Went to play Saturday morning. He he picked me up at my house, drove to the course. We played really early. It was really early in the morning. We were like the only two on the range, and we heard this guy say something like, hey, you guys. We couldn't even see like where this person was. Uh-huh. And he was like, hey, you guys. We were like, yeah. We kind of just set it out into the ether, like it was coming from outside the driving range while we were hitting balls before we went to go play.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, could you do me a favor? I hurt my back, and I got to get my clubs into my van, and I just can't lift them up. I got a really bad back. Can you help me out? And we were like, no, sorry. 'Cause it was just like the tone of his voice was weird, and like the way he was asking the question was weird. And it wasn't like he came in to say hello and kind of explain. It was just like this voice, It was just like, sorry, we got to get going quickly here. That was our answer. It was just like, I don't know. It just felt a little uncomfortable, so we said that. And he was like, a bunch of expletives. I'll save the editor some bleeping here, but like, well, F you and this and that and see what happens. So I'm going to go do this and come back and then saying all this. It's like he was going to kick the out of us and like all this stuff. It was like, well, that's one way to react to that. Sure. That made us feel validated for our answer.
Do you know what he is?
And then the first thing we did was ignore being called out to the tee box or whatever. We walked from there past the first hole to the second tee and started playing. It was just like, let's get out of here.
Do you know who he is? He's that guy that in school, when he sees you're eating a piece of gum, and he's like, "Can I have a piece of gum?" And you're like, "Oh, it's my last piece." And they're like, "F you piece of shit." And you're like,
and he's like, I don't have any more.
I
I didn't have
but
any
you
more.
do. You have like 6 more sticks, and you're
Well, yeah, but it's
like,
like, he doesn't even know that. He's not going to tell him that.
Him.
But yeah, so there's an example of something that happened that was like, well, that made me feel really uncomfortable as like a 16-year-old kid with my buddy and like no other like, let's say, formal adults around.
Sure.
So it was like, no, I'm sorry, pal, not right now. You know, like, and then we got the hell out of there. So but people show their colors sometimes, and it's like, I don't know, for all intents and purposes, he could have been really frustrated and think like society sucks, and maybe he did have hurt back, but it was just like, I don't know. That's a really weird way to ask that question. So we said no.
Do you know what would be the perfect ending to that story? Is if like you guys finished a round and you came out and there was just a guy like crumpled in front of his man.
Like ambulances everywhere.
And he's just like, my back hurts so bad. Nobody helps me.
I was like, well, maybe you should be nicer about the way you ask questions and think about it next time. If you
ever
get out of this situation.
They were like, how'd you throw your back out? And he was like, I was trying to kidnap those kids. I said it.
Okay,
right.
I'm going to go on a quick little dad rant about something, and then we'll jump into our dumb dad moments. And it all kind of stems into driving around on the road. How does that sound?
It's the only place you're supposed to drive around on.
That's a debate for another day. Today, I was late to school with my kids for the first time all year.
Brought to you by Bad Dad.
Brought to you by traffic. And I'll say this up top. It wasn't my fault. I was trying to be the good guy. Like I was talking about. I was trying to do the right thing, and I got punished for it.
Oh, you were holding the door open for your kids, and you ran late.
Yeah, because they were just dragging their feet, man.
Yeah.
So
hold on, your mother's leaving for work. Let me get the door for her as well.
Yeah.
Different car.
As we've discussed a couple times in the podcast, I got a certain window of time that I like to leave to take the kids to school. Otherwise, I fear that we will be late. Now, again, we got 20 days left of school here in Southern California. Okay, 163 days in a row. Made it to school, no problem. On time, getting them through the gate, no worries.
Pick up as well.
So,
sorry, just for the people.
Side note,
for
last week.
For the stats nuts, I'm just trying to just be clear for the stats nuts of the podcast who are just kind of marking this stuff down.
Last week, Kevin saved my. We were sitting here writing in his office, and it was an early pickup day, and he was like, "Yeah." And so, what's the schedule today? You got to go pick up the kids. I was like, "Yeah, I go pick them up." And then, like 20 minutes later, he's like, "So, what's the deal? Is your wife picking up the kids?" And I was like, "No, I'll pick them up." And then,
said,
like,
what time
then like 10 minutes later, he's like, What time do you need to leave to go get your kids?" And I was like, desperation mode, like probably 2:10, but about 2:00 would make me feel comfortable to pull up and get him. And he was like, "It's early pickup today," which means they get out of school at like 1:25. And it was 1:00 when those words came out of your mouth. And I was like, oh, I need to leave this very moment.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, okay, that's what I figured. And credit to you, you were trying to hold my hand into making the right decision the whole time.
I babied you through the whole thing.
You babied me through the whole thing, and I still was not picking up any of the clues.
And going back to why, like, we're talking about strangers and how, like, inherently, like, nobody's a good person. Like, there was a part of me that was like, it's tough because it's his children on the line, so that's not fair to them. But there is, like, a part of you that's like, great, let's work till 2.
Yeah, I know.
And then when he hears my children walk in the door.
Make sure you're rolling camera on my face when I hear them go, "Hi, Dad."
Why are your kids home?
I need to
Why are
go.
your kids home early? Yeah. They're not. They're home right on time. That was a great day.
Anyway, all that to say, so this morning we left at the tail end of when I like to leave. Okay, all's fair. Still leaving the house at a time that we've left many times before.
Acceptable window.
And as I do every day, check maps just to make sure I take the right route. It changes often depending on traffic.
You got a route in Los Angeles.
Even if it's a 3-mile drive, it could be the difference between it being 20 minutes off or something like that. So I route it every day. So I just make sure I take the fastest route it's suggesting. Today was taking a right on one of the major roads earlier than I normally do, which means like usually like it's pretty backed up. So got to make sure I take the right on this major road. Doesn't matter where. And so I'm thinking like, okay, dummy, pay attention. It says right now that we're going to be there 10 minutes early. Okay?
We're doing
before
great.
they shut the gate. And it was like, all right, 10 minutes, good enough window. That's happened plenty of times before, which my flag goes up like, all right, so let's make sure we pay attention. We can't lollygag our way over there. We got to make sure we make all the right moves. So we're arriving there 10 minutes late, and that gives us our window. As I approach this major light where we need to take a right, it's backed up usually quite a bit. And I've been caught doing this before where kids are asking me questions. They're suggesting a song to play, the usual banter and behavior on the way to school. Yeah. And then I think like, oh man, I've passed the end of the line. And now I got to kind of make that move where you're like, you got to wait for somebody to get caught napping. And then you turn right into there. And now you're in the line, cutting a whole bunch of people that have been waiting. But sometimes, it happens. So you try to pick your window, right? Today I thought, I'm not going to do that. I know we're going to be like, it could be potentially cutting it close. So let's make sure we make the right decision. So I get in the end of the line intentionally. I get all the way over thinking like when the end of the line shows up, I want to make sure I'm there. We then sat in that line for like 15 consecutive minutes.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
Huge mistake on my part. Trying to be the nice guy and do my part. Get in the back of the line. Well,
that was the right thing to do because I swear at those people all the time. There's got to be some psychology behind it about how angry we get at people that do us wrong.
Yeah. The person that
on the road
goes in line when you're like, you've been waiting in that line for 20 minutes and it's like 200 cars long and they just like, there's 10 cars left and they dump in front of you and you're like,
yeah,
when
there's a merge lane and everyone's doing a great job going this side, that side, this side,
let's all get there. Let's all just get there.
This side, that side, this side, this side.
Yeah.
It was my turn.
Yeah.
But then what's funny about that is you get so mad and then you forget about them forever.
I know, exactly.
Like 3 minutes later.
And the easiest way to do all that is
to
just
still
think,
get mad, just as mad every time.
The easiest way to do that is to think like, well, it's not like I've never made that mistake before. Whether or not you're the person that does it intentionally every day or, man, traffic was ripping down this side and I didn't notice that the end of the line was approaching and I got to get over. So I'm sorry. I got to get over.
Yeah, but I'm the hero of the story. So it's 100%. Okay when I do it.
It's 100%.
This is my story.
You're my hero. You're everyone's hero.
I have to get my kids who are so well behaved.
So well behaved. Your kids are heroes.
See, I don't get distracted.
Children.
See, I don't have to do that thing where they're like talking to me because they know to be quiet in the car and read their books.
So I get in the back of this line and 15 minutes later, it's like, man, that took 3 times longer than it should have to get through that line because now everyone's cutting across up front, getting over, blah, blah, and it's a bus lane and the right-hand turn lane, so the free right is not necessarily as like actionable as it is in other intersections.
Sure.
So by the time I'm actually turning right, it's like now I'm projected to be there at like 8:04.
Well, that's good for nobody.
I'm already projected like, oh man,
you have to be there at 8.
5 minutes. I got to be there at 8 o'clock. The gate shuts at 8 o'clock. So now I'm just like bobbing and weaving through this like sort of free flowing traffic, trying to get to the other. Going over the freeway hill thing that we need to get over.
Some wild moves?
Not making too many wild moves, but just enough. It's like
too many.
I'm aggressively driving within the rules. Let's say that. I'm not speeding. I'm not doing any dangerous driving, but it's like signal, get in front of you. Go up to the speed limit, wait for my window, get in front of you. You're going too slow, move over, get in front of you. Like, I'm maneuvering my way through the traffic. Do you think
a judge is listening? Nobody believes you were going
I was going 100 miles an hour, man.
I'm not saying 100, but like the speed limit.
Probably, I don't know, probably was. But you know what I'm saying?
If you were on the speed limit, you were angering people.
I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing wild behavior. I was just thinking now we're projected to be late. So if I can shave seconds, it's going to matter. That's where my mind is at.
Isn't it as a parent, you relive that scene from Men in Black where they're in that tunnel and he presses the button and the car turns into a rocket and goes upside down?
Yeah. Too bad there weren't any tunnels. Otherwise, I would have been I would have pushed every button in my car.
Yeah.
So anyway, then we get to the waiting in line to get over the hill where the freeway traffic is, and now that's even more backed up than I've ever seen it all year long. And at that moment, there's two things that can happen. One, I can get really stressed out and start snapping at my kids at every question they ask me because I'm trying to focus on getting to school and blah, 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 blah. But I had a quick conversation with myself, which was this. Or we get there when we get there.
You started your conversation with or?
Yeah, my kids were like, or what? I was like, how about I just get there when we get there? And now would be a good time to have the conversation with my kids. Hey, guess what, guys? It looks like we're probably going to be either like exactly on time if things go right from here on out or a few minutes late. And if we're a few minutes late and they shut the gate, we're probably going to have to go into the office. And my daughter at Mercer was like, we're going to be late. And she started freaking out. She's 5. She does not like the idea of being late to something, which is really funny that she somehow conceptually has the idea of like understands being late. She doesn't like thinking that her classroom, like they all line up outside, is going to head off into the classroom without her. That stresses her out a lot.
Hold on. So you're like not going to tell my kids about stranger danger, but you're going to tell them about being late?
Well, I said,
because it could just be we're
just
going
so
through
you know.
a different entrance today. Isn't that fun?
No, they're smart enough to know.
Isn't that fun?
They're smart enough to know if you have to go through the office, you're late.
She's not.
She is. She is.
So you have been late before?
No. She sees other kids that are late, and they come through the office with their parent. They have a tardy. She notices all that stuff. So I'm preemptively saying to these kids, hey, listen, we're probably going to be late, but it's okay. And she starts to stress out, and I was like, look, people are late. I'm sure other kids in your classroom have been late before, right? Yeah, and then they list all the kids' names who are late every day, which kids are great for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, exactly. And they're there all day, right? And they still get to be a part of the classroom activities and all these things. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, they make this one kid sit in the corner all day long and they don't teach him anything. So I was like, listen, we might have to go through the office. And then, so by that time, just setting that expectation with them really helped because we literally pulled up. We did shave seconds and moments. We pulled up at the gate at like 8:02 or something. I'm thinking like
going the speed limit.
Maybe they'll let us in, but by the time we rounded the corner, it was like the gate had shut. And I was like, all right. So we make our way around the school, and even then, it was like it was like at this point, there's no point in like adding any stress to their lives by like parking their car and like sprinting to the office. I was like,
just tuck and
just
roll.
slowly go all the way around.
Sure.
Park in front of the school, casually walk up to the front, and be like, hey, give them their names, and then on they went. And they were cool about it. They weren't stressed. They were like, bye, Dad. And it was like, there's so many ways that your stress level will be mirrored by your kids if you let them see it. And today was one of those moments I started to feel it happening to me. And I was like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. It's just one of those things.
It's not a big deal at all. It's elementary school.
So all that to say, we were late and didn't mean to be. It happens, it happens. But tomorrow I will be cutting somebody off in the front and near the front of that line. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, yeah. You're going to make that straight lane next to the right turn lane, a secondary right turn lane.
Oh, man.
When you see those, that's when you know somebody is in a rush.
When somebody's in a rush.
Those people you don't get mad at. Those people you go, I assume you're going to the hospital.
That's the thing, too. I try to. It was harder when I was younger. But now, when you understand more about life, when somebody does that to you, it's so much easier for your heart health and your mental health to just go, hope you get to where you're going on time, pal. No stress on me. Like, they're going to do it to you either way. When you get kind of that situation where they're just like nosing in front of you, that means it's going to happen whether you like it or not. So it's easier just to go like, yeah, don't be dangerous. Get to where you need to go. I don't need to add your stress onto my life. So
no, you keep the exact tone you're saying, and you say, oh, man, I hope you get in a non-physical injury car accident.
And it's your fault. And it costs you thousands of dollars.
2 miles up the road, I see you pulled over.
Pulled over would be a better one. Yeah,
getting
pulled over,
ripped apart by a truck driver.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I want for you. I don't
cut her off or gal, whoever you are.
You jerk. So anyway, all right, let's move on to the dumb dad moments. Mine is brought to you by, I guess we'll say, imposter syndrome.
Okay.
So last week, as of this recording, so it'll have been 2 weeks ago, was Teacher Appreciation Week. Sure. Thank you to all the teachers out there.
Thank you to the teachers.
All the work you do. You guys are amazing and the heroes. We love you. So being on the PTA, we volunteered to help out. Like, I think it was like we volunteered to help out take the heat for 2 of the days. Like, we're like, we'll do the food on Wednesday and Thursday, but we'll also be there Monday to help set up and decorate.
Sure.
And then the staff as well. The principal was doing a bunch of stuff for the teachers. Every day we're doing a different thing for the teachers, which was really fun. The kids would come home and we'd go, okay, so tomorrow is this. You got to make a card for them.
Yeah, make a card or
whatever.
Yeah.
So it was a fun teacher appreciation thing. And I guess something came up with whatever it was, school funds or whatever stuff went backwards. If nobody noticed listening to the podcast, I'm a pretty chill guy. I don't pretend to be a grown up. I know I am very much grown up. I'm almost 40. It's like I have to start getting like a finger in a butt soon, like by a medical professional. That's how old I am. I had to clarify who was doing it because you can do that at most any adult age.
You could do it in the shower if you really needed to, but a medical professional will at least give an opinion about it.
Exactly. So my point is I am an adult. I am getting older. But I just don't.
Based on the last 30 seconds, we don't really act like adults.
If I were to murder somebody for asking me, say, my kid's age, I will go to prison as an adult, is my point. Like the laws of this country see me as an adult.
Sure. Driver's license.
I say that because the amount of times I have conversations with people, I just feel like, what are we doing here? Why are you talking to me like that?
Uh-huh.
Not like a condescending way. Why are you talking to me like I'm an equal?
Give me an example.
So the principal emailed me and she was like, hey, because like some funds that we had allocated for this couldn't happen. We need the PTA's approval on this. The problem is we had the funds when we decided to buy this thing for the teachers. Now we don't have those funds allocated, and we have those. We got the items. We got to pay.
The platform is here. Who's the treasurer? Shout him out right now.
We got to pay the invoice. So they were like, but here's how the PTA works. You can't just go, here's what I would be okay with. And I understand. PTA is a nonprofit. You have to do taxes. For those who don't know, like, it is such a pain in the ass.
For the other adults of you who know, there are things called taxes, which are a pain in the bottom.
I just think the PTA, the IRS, the U.S. government should go, do your thing. But again, it goes back to there's bad people that are just doing bad things with stuff. See, it goes, they ruin everything.
The bad apples are my least favorite apples.
Because it's one thing to like volunteer your time and like resources and stuff. You pay on the PTA, you pay a lot out of pocket. Like you take a lot of the donations and buy stuff, but you also just go, I'll pay for it. It's fine. I don't need to give you the receipt. I'll pay for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you just kind of throwing stuff away. And it's funny because they were like, we need to have a meeting, an emergency PTA meeting tomorrow to ask for these funds for what we need. And I was like, okay, like we can't do that. Like I could just say yes.
Yeah.
I just say yes right now. Like, do we have to? We're emailing. This is a legal document. Like, what are we doing here?
I could just say yes and we can figure it out later.
And then we just like went into this meeting and it was just like, I had such imposter syndrome of just like, we sat down and it was like, we're calling the meeting to order at this time. And it was like, all right, like, I know this is what we have to do. I'm not judging anyone else in the room either.
Sure.
I'm just being like, this is dumb.
I know what you're saying. It's like the process of something sometimes seems so silly and ridiculous.
We have to
but
do
you
it.
have to do it.
We have to do it.
And in order to change it, it can't just be like, can we just not do this? And everyone says yes. It's a huge process to change it. And you're talking about legal action and all this stuff where you're thinking like, this is so silly. It's all so silly to get one thing approved.
It's so silly. And like you have to have emergency meetings to approve any kind of money moving, because if you got if you got audited by the IRS, you need to have like proof like, well, we approved these funds.
Yeah.
And the whole board was present. So we were there and had to have the whole board present, and it was like during Teacher Appreciation Week, I had to like call all the moms who were like helping out decorate the faculty areas. Like, hey guys, I need you over here real quick. And they're like, oh, okay. And then we went and we sat down, and then, the principal gave her her spiel of like what we need the funds for, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, great. Like I have like hands down on the desk going, we're good here. Like kind of like nobody's going to object to this, right? And she was like, so I just want to open the floor for discussion. And like most everyone took the bait and had something to say, but none of it was negative though. None of it was negative.
Yeah.
It was all just like.
But how much of it was needless?
It was time. The time was spent on that.
Yeah. Time
was spent on that conversation. And I was like, I just don't, I know I'm not going to be president next year. So we'll miss these little chats, but what are we doing here, guys? I enjoy being on the PTA. I enjoy doing the fun things. It's funny. The things that I've had to learn throughout my tenure there of like, Again, I've never been an adult. Legally, I have been for more than I haven't been.
I'm right there with you,
pal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, pal.
I've been an adult longer than I haven't, but like I've never felt like one.
No. I feel 12.
Except when I'm like being asked a question about my children by a stranger. Then I'm like Liam Neeson from Taken, and I have a certain set of skills.
That's this conjure. I know kung fu out of nowhere.
It's the Matrix, but I guess we're just gonna mix.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that was my example. I'm Neo. You're Liam Neeson.
You're Neo.
Yeah. If someone says that to me, if someone says an offhanded comment about creepy stuff, I'm giving the, come on, and the frozen food aisle. Let's go right now.
If you did bullet time, you'd be on your couch for a week.
My kids would be safe right there with me.
Would they?
Not really sure.
It's one of those things where I know I'm not right. This is one of those things. I know I'm not right. It's a dumb dad moment.
Sure.
Where I know I'm not correct.
Sure.
This is things you have to do so that people don't take advantage of organizations like the PTA, and having discussions is important to be like, well, what do we need that for? What are we going to use it for? Could we use it for other things? That's the other part of it. It's like, well, these funds are raised to, could we use it for something else? But I was just like, it's fine. I already did the math in my head. We'll survive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's wasting other people's time. Pet peeve.
It's nobody's fault. It's the rules. It's the rules of the game. It's what we're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I'm just acknowledging that it's like, this suit's really itchy. You know?
This suit is really itchy.
This is really itchy. When can I take my tie off?
Yeah, when can I take my tie off? I don't like it.
I just can't like tie my shoes and dress clothes. Get out of here.
God, that's so funny. That's so funny. Okay, let's jump into my dumb dad moment. My dumb dad moment is brought to you by showing off in front of your friends.
This is great. I love this so far.
Not,
for you. Oh, this is for me.
Yeah, this is for you. So this weekend, Mother's Day weekend. And happy Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day. I mean, I know we said it before, but you know what?
2 weeks late.
Mothers deserve all of it, all the time. You're wonderful. We're nothing without you. And that's a lot more true than we probably realize, because we're not really adults, even though our licenses say that we are.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, a lot of ways. So one of our friends was getting married over Mother's Day weekend. Mother's Day was Sunday. My friend, one of our close friends, got married on the Saturday. And it was up in, we live in the greater Los Angeles area.
Is this friend a mom?
Friend's not a mom.
Selfish. Go ahead.
Just going to let that one sit there for a second.
Yeah, she doesn't listen. She's not a
mom. So we, 2 hours north of where we are, up in about, we call it wine country, down here in Los Angeles, up in wine country. Beautiful area. Wineries every 100 yards, basically.
I'd hope so. It's wine
areas.
country.
Yeah. Which is always a cool place. It's a really fun day trip. It's a fun, like my wife and I went up there before we had our first child, before we had our son. That was like our baby moon. We went up to up into that area, spent a couple nights there, and just kind of like walked around, chilled for a little bit. It's, little small town vibes. They're always super fun to go, like little antique shops and anyway. So it was up in this area, right? And so another big group of our friends have not simultaneously with weddings, but like year after year have done what they call like a big wine trip where like a ton of our friends go and they just like spend a couple nights in an Airbnb, usually all together, and they hit a few wineries over the couple days and just spend a bunch of time with each other. So these, because of a couple of our friends were like flying across the country, and it was just like, why don't we just kind of like smash that all into one weekend?
Great.
Now, we had months in advance, like booked this Airbnb with another couple of friends of ours who have a little kid. So we thought it'd be a great chance to like stay with them. This will be like the house with kids, you know. And so we were going to stay there Friday night and Saturday night. And then as things got closer, my son's baseball team was like, guess what? This Saturday, specifically when the burgers are out of town, is going to be picture day. And we were like, oh, okay. That means we can't leave Friday after school. That means we need to stay home Friday, even though we've already prepaid for this Airbnb. So that's really fun. And then go to picture day and then drive up there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was kind of the vibe, right? So everything was kind of aligning where it was going to work out. But so we drive up there. We hit them Saturday. We do the picture day. We get there a couple hours early. We go like right to the Airbnb. We get ready. Go to the wedding, beautiful wedding, fun ceremony. And the next day we thought, well, we have Sunday and it's Mother's Day. So I'm kind of defaulting to my wife. I was like, what do you want to do? I mean, like, I know we're up here. I know we could probably do our own thing. But I kind of knew her answer, which was like, well, let's go out with our friends and like go. The idea was that we were probably going to go to a couple of wineries, do a couple of tastings, and then figure out how we feel and then maybe head home.
Drunk.
Yeah, no. So my wife was like, I mean, I'd love to just spend time with our friends and be with you guys. And so that's what we'll do. So wake up Sunday morning, we head out to coffee, and then we're all like collaborating, like, let's go to this winery. We pick a winery. And it was like 3-car caravan. Okay. So we head out from coffee, and it was like, we're heading to our first winery. And so here's where the showing off part comes in. Here's where my dumb dad moment lands. So just to paint the picture of like what's going on with the weekend, you know, friends out of town, people we haven't seen in a long time. And it's like, you know, the vibes are good. We're having a good time. Our kids are being great. They had fun at the wedding. They made friends with other kids at the wedding. Yeah. So everything was like great. And so we take off heading to the winery, and 2 of our friends were the lead car, like leading us there. I didn't notice that my wife had put the directions to the winery on my phone and like put it back onto like the dashboard. I didn't necessarily notice that. I just saw that, like, you know, I didn't pay attention to that part of it. That like, I was just thinking like, we're following them. Right. So then our other friends were behind that car, and then we're behind them. So we're the third car in the caravan. Yeah. I noticed down the freeway, and we're on the freeway for like 5 minutes or something like that. But I noticed that like the car in front of me is like 200 yards behind the car in front of them, the car that we're ultimately following. So the part of me, this is like, all right, let's try to stick together a little bit more here. It wasn't stressing me out per se, but I was like, we could all be a little bit closer together. So I decide, without telling anybody, I'm going to gas it and go around them and like be the middle car. Right?
Cool.
Yeah, cool move, man. Now, here's the funny part about it. Is like, I knew this, but the car that was directly in front of us, this couple that we've known a long time, the husband is a cop. Now, again, let me stress that. I can't stress this enough. It wasn't like I gassed it to 100 miles an hour and to get in front of him to like run. I was just like, it'll be funny to like gas it like you're passing somebody and get in front of them, right? So that's what I do. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just getting in front of these guys are going too slow for me." You know, it's kind of just joking around a little bit.
Police officer's going too slow.
So he wasn't driving; his wife was driving. So I go around him, and I'm thinking like we kind of like wave as we go by, like, you know, just tongue in cheek kind of move.
Sure.
Now, here's where the dumb dad moment really lands. So as soon as I get around him, we're kind of giggling, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I was just getting around him." And she goes, "You just missed the exit." Now, what I didn't like I said, I didn't realize my wife had mapped it, and it was like as I'm starting to pass them, the map is saying probably something to the effect of like, take the next exit, which is like 0.2 miles away. So as I gas it and go around their car,
they all just take the exit.
No, the car that we were ultimately following took the exit, but I distracted them behind me with going like, what's he doing? So I just cruise on ahead. Now the car in front of us is like the same car that we were following. So I'm still thinking, well, I don't understand what the problem is. And my wife's like, well, you missed the exit. And I was like, what exit? They're right there. And she's like, no, they're right there. And I look over and I see them like, our friends like pulling up to the light, like, oh yeah, that is them. That's not them. Okay, so what are we doing now? Now, that's part of the dumb dad moment. In that it wasn't ultimately a big deal. It was like we were 13 minutes away from our destination, and then now we've missed the exit, and now it says we're 15 minutes away. So it was like you just need to take the next exit and then head to your destination. So nothing too sketchy or lost there. It was just like, oops, my bad. I was trying to be funny, and then I guess that was stupid. Now I confused them. Now they're following us. The lead car is headed off to the destination. Now we are in charge of getting there. My wife's like, it's on the map. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was there. I wasn't paying attention to that part of it.
So many dumb dad moments.
Yeah, so many dumb dad moments. So we get to the destination, and my buddy that's a cop and his wife get out of the car, and they were like, pretty lucky, pal. And I was like, I was messing around. I just missed the exit. And he was like, the car behind us got pulled over. So like the car that was ultimately behind me got pulled over for something.
Ooh.
Which means I narrowly missed getting pulled over for acting like an and just passing that car just to pass the car. So I had a dumb dad moment.
But legally an adult.
But legally an adult. But I kind of got away with it.
Yeah.
Even though I was showing off, and then I looked like an either way, because I confused the whole caravan just trying to be funny when all I really needed to do was just follow the car in front of us and look at the map.
Feeling cool, big guy?
Not at that point, no.
Yeah.
I was thinking, that'll be funny. Like, he'll think it's funny. Like, he's a cool dude. He wouldn't have been like, I really don't suggest. He was even still laughing at it. I was like, dude, he was like, they got pulled over, man. You're a lucky guy. And I was like, oh, man. He saw the look on my face, and he was like, he was kind of making fun of me for it. I mean, it wasn't like that big of a deal, but it was just like, God, man. Just acting like a dumbass. Not acting my age. Let's say that. Because we're children. We're not men.
It's just interesting.
We're not adults.
You tell that story, but you want us to believe
Here it comes.
you were going this speed limit, running late to take your kids to school.
I mean, I might have been going for 2 miles an hour over.
I mean, your whole family was in this car. The story where you blew past a cop. But going to school, I was like, well, I was following the speed limit, and I signaled on every lane change. I even put my arm out just in case my blinker light was off. I check them every day, but I.
How do you know that I do that? That I definitely do that and did that.
Because it's the right thing to do.
There you go. So it's opening the door for people. If you have had a dumb dad moment in your past, and you have, please write in about it. We would love to hear about them. dumbdadpod@gmail.com.
Please do it. We want to hear your stories.
And if you would be so kind as to review our podcast, guess what? We could read it on the podcast, which Kevin is going to do right now. We're going to read a review. Or tell your dumb dad story in the review. That'd be fun. I mean, as long as you just click 5 stars, we're Uber drivers now. Appreciate the 5 stars. Even if you don't like it, 5 stars is appreciated. But write your dumb dad, dumb parenting stories to us. We love reading them. We do mailbag episodes. And we probably have one coming up, I believe. I think we tease that a lot, but we really, really should do one soon because people send us wonderful submissions all the time.
Absolutely.
So, Kevin, if you wouldn't mind reading us one of our latest reviews of somebody that reviewed the podcast.
Absolutely. By the way, we're not reading anything under 4 stars. We're reading 4 stars out of curiosity. You can pound sand 5 stars if you want it read. That's the
you can pound sand.
That's how you pay tolls. Pay the toll to get on this podcast. So this review is by B. Bo.
B-E-B-O?
You know, it's funny. It's
B.B-O. What is it?
It's B.B.O.
Okay.
And it's funny is
the ellipses. I wouldn't have. That wasn't on my bingo card.
It's funny. I had the ellipses, and I kind of read it as like, do I click a button to see more? Like it's such a long name.
How does he have settings in his name?
I just thought it was such a long name. They're like, all right, we can't give you all.
See more.
We can't give you the whole page. So. This says the absolute best parenting podcast. 1 star. No, it's 5 stars. It's 5 stars.
Oh, man.
Being a dumb dad is a badge of honor.
Sure is.
Simply being able to have grace for yourself and laugh at silly mistakes makes us better parents. Kevin and Evan are excellent storytellers and truly funny guys. This podcast is for every mom and dad, and for me, reduce the stress we all put on ourselves as parents. My name is Blake, and I'm a dumb dad. Thanks, Blake.
Wow.
Or is your street name Bebo?
B. Seymour Bo.
No, it's B. Bo.
Blake, thank you. Appreciate that, man. That's
Thanks
great.
for the review, Blake. We really appreciate it. That's very kind words.
That is very kind, and I do appreciate the fact that he acknowledges like that's what this is all about. That it's like, let's not pretend to be anything that we're not.
Yep.
Thumbing our way through being fathers, and we make good decisions all the time, but those aren't fun to hear about. Let's hear about the mistakes we make and acknowledge them. That's what's where the comedy lies.
I don't know about all the time, but thanks to Ed Verdue on SoundCloud for the music for this podcast. Thanks as always to my wonderful wife Andy for editing this podcast. Evan, do you have a joke?
Especially because this one, I feel like she's going to have a little bit more extra work on her hands.
Evan, you have a joke to take us out?
I got a joke for you. I got a baseball joke for you. Ready?
A baseball joke?
Yeah. Of course, I shouldn't have said that. It teases it.
The answer is
who cares? Ready?
HGH.
What do you do to a rhino that has 3 balls?
Strike them out. Walk them.
Yeah, walk them and pitch to the elephant. That's the answer.
I don't understand that at all. That's just,
Neither do I. That's why I like it so much. It makes you laugh because it's like, yeah, walk him and pitch to the elephant. But it's like, sure, I love that. Funny joke. I have at least 10 questions.
So send in your dad jokes so we can read those too. Okay.
I would love that. Send us a funny one.
That's a good dad joke.
We've done like 3 million episodes of this podcast. I would have yet to have a funny dad joke.
Do it. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the world, little one. Welcome to life.
How do I stop this?
The Dumb Dad Podcast is proudly presented by Bet Online.